This video will go through the basic procedure in creating a simple truss layout in Vertex BD. First, go to the Trusses menu in the Modeling tab and select Common Trusses. The Truss Parameters box will appear. We can set the thickness of the truss envelopes, the labeling prefix, and the spacing in the trusses, as well as other values such as the 2D and 3D presentations. Once the parameters set, confirm. The first step is to select the above slopes. Here we just select all the slopes that the top guard of the truss supports, then once selected, click Confirm. The second step is to select the bottom slopes. If I have any ceiling planes or roofs under the above slope, I can select these. However, if like this example I don't, and only have walls and roofs, I can use the Define Limits in Plane function from the contextual right-click toolbar to add an invisible plane. This function allows me to specify the height of the plane. I can type in a value if I already know it, or use the From Wall button, selecting if I want to select from 2D or 3D. I can then click on the exterior wall the truss will rest on, and BD picks up the top plate height. Click OK, and then we are ready to define the shape of the limiting plane. As this roof is rectangular, I can just pick up two opposite diagonal corners, and clicking Confirm. A blue rectangle will appear that shows the shape of my plane. I can then hit Confirm to move on to selecting the truss line points. In the contextual toolbar I have two toggle options that control if the very end trusses are moved in flush at the end of the truss line. I also have options for defining the origin point of the trusses, whether this be from left, from right, from both ends, and so forth. With my options defined, I can now select the truss line. I will go from the center point on the exterior side of the frame right across the ridge line to the other. Once selected, you are automatically brought to the last step, which is selecting the bearing component. Here you can select the walls and beams that the trusses sit on, or you can just confirm to put in the truss envelopes. That is the basic method for adding in truss envelopes. However, there are more advanced functions for altering the truss layout for different roof types, such as this one. Go back to Trusses menu, and in the hip truss section, you can choose from 5 different hip sets. For this example, I will use the terminal hip end option. Then I select my truss area, and finally the hip eave. The hip end properties window comes up. Here I can define the parameters for the girder plies and the jack truss spacing. After choosing these, I click OK, and the layout is automatically changed. With the truss envelope layout done, I can now add the actual truss profiles. It is advisable to do this in the framing model, so press F4 and choose the roof framing modeling pair. The truss layout is still visible. To add the profile, select the trusses. It is advisable to select different types separately. Then right-click and generate parts. In this window there are different truss types available in different libraries dependent on customization. First we will deal with the main roof trusses, so double-click Full Truss. Here you can define the profiles used for each component of the truss, as well as defining end web length. The two rules allow you to set up various parameters to control how pieces are added into the truss structure, as well as adding in connections, while spacing allows you to define the node points and word spacing settings, both minimum and maximum allowed values for both the top and bottom chord. Once selected, click OK. The program will then show a progress window as it generates the trusses. Once done, we can do the same for the half trusses, selecting the appropriate option in truss structures, and once again setting up our parameters. Once done, we can see the trusses in 3D by pressing F2. This concludes our video. Thank you for watching.